The cashier looked at me without knowing that I was the owner of the supermarket. At 34 years old, I own 2 supermarket stores in my city. I hired a manager a few years ago to manage both stores, as I wanted to explore other business opportunities in different fields. For the past 5 years, I've let management handle my supermarket business and moved an hour away from my stores. I visit both stores a couple of times every few months to check that everything is running correctly. Sometimes management is surprised to see me just wandering around or checking for expired food. This past year, I had a bigger project that took up all my time, so I wasn't able to check on my stores in person. At one point, one of my business partners and I had a meeting near one of my stores. I told her that I owned that store, and she asked how it was doing. I told her that I hired a great manager who handles everything and gives me monthly reports and updates on the decisions she's been making. After the meeting ended, I asked my partner if she wanted to get sushi, as my market sold sushi, and they could even make it fresh and to her preference. She agreed, and we both went inside. As we entered the supermarket, I noticed several new faces among the staff and that some of the shelves had been relocated. I wasn't surprised, considering I hadn't been around for some time. We made our way to the sushi counter, and I was proud to see that everything around me was neatly arranged. It was clear that my store was maintaining its high standards, and I was planning to tell management how well the store had been doing in my absence. While we were waiting in line, my partner and I heard a lot of yelling from a nearby register. The cashier was having a heated discussion with a customer. My partner and I turned our attention back to the sushi counter, where it was our turn to order. I recognized the sushi chef since I was the one who hired him back in the day, and he greeted me warmly. I had a small conversation with him and told him what my partner and I wanted. He nodded and said he would start making our sushi. I told him we were just going to grab some drinks and come back, and he nodded, saying it would be ready by then. When we returned to the sushi counter, the same cashier, who had been having a heated discussion with the previous customer, approached us. "I'm sorry, but you can't consume those here without paying first. It's store policy," she said in a stern tone. I told her that we weren't planning to drink it here and that we were going to pay for it. She eyed us and said, "I just wanted to make sure you guys weren't shoplifting or anything. I'll be watching you," she said, her tone sounding more like she was trying to accuse us of something. My business partner looked at me and started laughing, and I suddenly felt embarrassed. My own staff was accusing me of stealing in front of my business partner. You can now check if there's a part 2 by pressing share and more. Part 2. The cashier looked me up and down, not knowing I owned the supermarket. I glanced at her name tag, read her name, and made sure to remember it before walking away. I apologized to my business partner for him having to see me get lectured by my own employee, as I laughed nervously. My partner said it was good that she was keeping an eye out and making sure people don't steal. We walked around the market a bit more and ended up going back to the sushi bar, where the same cashier was talking to the sushi chef. As my partner and I got closer, I heard the cashier tell the chef that we were the ones who looked suspicious. My eyebrows raised, and the sushi chef looked up and saw us. His eyes widened, and he looked at the cashier. He started whispering to the cashier, and I could tell her mood was changing. I went over to them, greeted them, and the sushi chef gave us our sushi. I smiled at the cashier, and she smiled back and asked if we were done. I said yes, and she told us she could check us out personally. I looked at my business partner, and he started smirking at me without saying a word. While she was ringing us up, she tried to make small talk. I didn't mind and also engaged in small talk. I smiled at her, and I could tell she was getting nervous. Honestly, I wasn't planning to do anything. I called the manager that day and told him I visited the supermarket. He asked if there was anything I wanted to change or do, and I said no. I told him that everything was up to standard. For those saying I should have fired her, you aren't meant to run a business if you're going to fire your employees just like that. Although she judged me and thought I might be the type to steal, I found out from the manager that there had been multiple incidents of shoplifting in the past few months, so I told him the cashier was doing a great job. I ended up giving her a raise as well.